Bill Maher, once a celebrated voice of the liberal elite and a fierce critic of Donald Trump, has just stunned the political world. No longer content with towing the progressive line, Maher openly challenged the left, defended Trump, and tore through the carefully constructed narrative that progressives have clung to for years. Is this the awakening of a man disillusioned by the left's growing detachment from reality? Or could it be the first tremor in a broader shift, an exodus, of liberals coming to terms with the uncomfortable truth that their movement has started to mirror the very forces they once vowed to resist?
People were saying at the beginning, oh, by the 4th of July, somebody had to think how the country was, the economy was going to be tanked by then. And I was kind of like, well, that seems right to me. But that didn't happen.
Let's pause for a moment and give Bill Maher his due, because this kind of honesty is nearly extinct on the left. He didn't sugarcoat it. He openly acknowledged that the Trump-era economy wasn't the catastrophe the media warned us about. Remember all those experts on CNN and MSNBC who sounded the alarm over Trump's tariffs, predicting economic collapse? When those apocalyptic forecasts failed to come true, did they ever give Trump a hint of credit? Not a chance. Instead, they shifted the narrative and moved the goalposts. Maher had the guts to call that out. In doing so, he pulled back the curtain on a deeper issue, the media's refusal to admit they were wrong, simply because it would mean conceding that Trump got something right. And in progressive circles, that's treated like heresy. So hats off to Maher for daring to speak the truth that so many are too afraid to say.
Happen tomorrow? I'm just saying, that's reality. So let's work first from the reality of that, not from I just hate Donald Trump. Because that's boring and doesn't get us anywhere and leads you to dishonesty.
And there it is, the smoking gun. Maher hits the bullseye. The left isn't just losing because of bad strategy, they're losing because they've become hooked on dishonesty. It's no longer about honest debate or genuine solutions, it's about bending reality to fit a preferred narrative. If that means quietly hoping America stumbles under Trump just to score political points, so be it. The hardships of working-class Americans? Just collateral damage in their cynical power play. This isn't politics anymore, it's something darker. And what makes it even more disturbing is the smug indifference of a party that claims to fight for the very people it now seems detached from. When someone like Bill Maher, a lifelong liberal, is the one calling you out for being disingenuous, you know you've gone completely off the rails. It's a wake-up call for a movement that's been slapping the snooze button for far too long. The American public sees through it. Maher sees through it. And while Democrats keep spinning their fiction, reality is catching up fast.
I don't know what his strategy is, but look, your shot doing nothing, not engaging, has zero chance. Mine, this guy, I'm telling you, I know this cat a lot better than I did before. He's a people person. He talks to people. You have to keep the lines open. The stupidest thing the left does, and this dinner is a perfect example of it, is having this attitude toward the right that we won't even break bread with you. We are so far above you that we won't even sit down at the same table.
Want to know why the left is spiraling? One word, arrogance. That smug, self-righteous, we know better than you attitude has alienated everyone outside their coastal echo chambers. Maher's warning is clear: if you write off Trump voters, you're writing off half the country. Full stop. But the left doesn't want unity, they want submission. From their ivory towers, they believe that shaming and demonizing Trump supporters somehow makes them morally superior. Here's a reality check: it doesn't make them virtuous, it makes them delusional. These aren't faceless villains, they're everyday Americans with real struggles, real families, and real stakes in the future. You don't win them over by mocking them, you just drive them further away. Maher sees the damage. He's trying to rescue what's left of honest discourse. But he also knows that if Democrats keep choosing condescension over connection, they won't just lose votes, they'll become a cautionary tale, frozen in time as a failed movement on display in the Museum of Political Irrelevance.
That is their attitude, and that makes me sick too. I'm glad I break bread, and what makes them hate the left so much. They think that they're deplorables. We're deplorables, and you won't even sit down to dinner with us. Well, good luck. See how far that gets.
This one hits deep, and Maher isn't just making a political point, he's speaking from personal experience. The man had the nerve to share a meal with Donald Trump, and suddenly, he was branded a traitor, a pariah. How dare he engage with someone outside the liberal echo chamber? The backlash came fast and furious. But instead of retreating, Maher stood his ground, and rightfully so, because the truth is, the left isn't looking for dialogue. They're demanding conformity. You're either fully aligned with their worldview, or you're dismissed as deplorable. And the irony? This very intolerance is what's driving voters away. Americans are exhausted, tired of being talked down. 2. Tired of being boxed into labels. And Maher? He's exhausted too. Exhausted from the idea that basic civility is now seen as betrayal. He's trying to pull the party back from the edge, but the sad part is, it's a party that no longer wants to be saved.
And let's look at their net favorable ratings. Whoa. Woof. I mean, my God. You know, we mentioned CNN. We had that poll come out a little while ago on their net favorable rating. They were 26 points underwater. You think that's low enough? How about we go even lower? We'll go to this side of the screen. I'm going to walk over here. We go to the Wall Street Journal. Minus 30 points. 30 points underwater.
Want to talk about media bias? Maher just landed a knockout punch on the legacy press, and it was well deserved. The way these outlets lose their minds over everything Trump does, you'd think the man causes natural disasters just by showing up. If he sneezes, it's treated like an act of biological warfare. This is exactly why public trust in the media has plummeted. They've traded journalism for theatrical outrage. Maher, as someone who spent decades inside the media machine, sees the absurdity for what it is. The left-wing press lost the thread long ago. In their obsession with taking down Trump, they've torched their own credibility. And let's be clear, Maher isn't defending Trump just to defend him. He's defending truth. He's calling out the exaggerated, cartoonish reactions that have turned once respected news outlets into punchlines around the world.
And again, the spirit of it is something that if someone with the blue hat said it, people would nod along on the left. Yes, exactly.
There's plenty of things he says. You don't have to invent them.
Can I just say one thing? And I agree with you. All those criticisms are fair. But there's been a lot of violence, as Nancy Pelosi knows, and a lot of threats.
Let's talk about the left's favorite affliction, Trump derangement syndrome. It's chronic, it's exhausting, and according to Maher, it's become terminal. He's offering a tough dose of truth. This obsessive hatred of Trump already backfired in 2016, and it's on track to do it again. You can't build a political platform on blind rage and nonstop hysteria. Maher is practically begging his own side. Stop crashing the car and blaming the GPS. Trump isn't the root of the problem. They are. Every moment spent obsessing over his tweets is a moment lost on real policy, real progress, or even the bare minimum of political strategy. Maher's warning isn't just sharp, it's prophetic. If the Democrats keep chasing shadows and feeding outrage, they won't just lose the next election. They'll lose whatever credibility they have left.
What do you make of the statement? I woke up today to the headline that Trump had called for a firing squad for Liz Cheney. And this is what I really don't like about the media. No, he didn't.
He did not.
You don't have to move me to not like Donald Trump.
He says
more
so
than
many
I already,
shitty things. Why do you have to do that?
And by the way, if you Pete don't realize it, well, here's what he said. He's criticizing her for being a war hawk. I mean, she is Dick Cheney's daughter. He said, she's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay. Let's see how she feels about it. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, we'll send tens of thousands of troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Say it louder for the folks in the back. The Democratic Party isn't evolving, it's unraveling. And Maher makes that brutally clear. The left has become so consumed by performative wokeness, they can't even see the cliff they're speeding toward. From pronoun policing to bioactivism, from virtue signaling to cancel culture theatrics, it's all noise that pushes real voters away. Maher, a lifelong liberal, sees the truth for what it is. The American people aren't buying the show anymore. They're not demanding rainbow flags in war zones, they're asking for jobs, stability, and a return to common sense. But the left? They're too busy patting themselves on the back to notice the ground crumbling beneath them. Maher's words are more than a warning, they're an alarm bell. But don't expect the left to wake up anytime soon.
Their lowest on record. These polls have records going all the way back since the early 1990s. And when it comes to the Democratic Party's net favorable rating in both the Wall Street Journal poll and the CNN poll, the Democratic Party is breaking records in the way, Jessica Dean, you don't want to break records.
Stephen Colbert, once the golden boy of late-night television, just got the boot, and it wasn't hard to see why. His nonstop obsession with Trump turned what used to be comedy into a nightly outrage ritual. Maher points to this as Exhibit A in his case against the Democrats' scorched earth strategy. Colbert's relentless Trump bashing didn't just polarize, it exhausted people. Viewers tuned out. Ratings tanked. Eventually, the network did the math and pulled the plug. Maher is sending a clear warning to his own side: keep alienating everyone who disagrees with you, and soon you won't have a party, you'll have a podcast no one listens to. The left has turned politics into a purity test, where even slight dissent leads to cancellation. But here's the reality: you can't cancel half the country and expect to win elections. Maher's trying to save them from their own self-destruction. The tragedy is, he might already be too late.
Yeah, something really significant is happening right here. And it goes back to President Trump. When he ran for office again, he ran directly at these legacy national broadcasters. And for years, people cowed down to the executives behind these companies based in Hollywood, in New York, and they just accepted that these national broadcasters could dictate how people think about topics, that they could set the narrative for the country. And President Trump fundamentally rejected it. He smashed the facade that these are gatekeepers that can determine what people think.
Trump's real genius wasn't in building a wall or slapping on tariffs, it was in taking a sledgehammer to the legacy media. And Maher openly admits it: Trump won that war. He shattered the illusion, forcing Americans to see the bias, the spin, the double standards. And once that veil was lifted, there was no going back. Every slanted headline, every anonymous source, every carefully clipped soundbite only deepened the public's distrust. Trump didn't just criticize the media, he exposed it. He pulled back the curtain, and suddenly the spell was broken. Maher may not be a fan of Trump's style, but he respects the effect. Because the truth is, Trump flipped the table, and as Maher now suggests, maybe that table needed flipping all along.
Everything that we're seeing right now flows from that decision by President Trump, and he's winning. I mean, look, PBS has been defunded. NPR has been defunded. CBS is committing to restoring fact-based journalism. And you see it, everything from, Joy Reid is gone at MSNBC. All these things aren't isolated pinpricks. They go back to this emperor has no clothes moment where President Trump stood up to these legacy media gatekeepers, and now their business models are falling apart.
Here comes the knockout punch: the mainstream media isn't mainstream anymore. Americans are tuning out of the scripted chaos of CNN and MSNBC and flocking to independent voices like Joe Rogan because they're done being gaslit. They don't want theater, they want truth. They're not buying the narratives, they're looking for nuance. And Maher, ironically, a longtime insider of that very media machine, is now saying out loud, yeah, the public has every reason to distrust them. That's a seismic shift. When even seasoned liberals are telling you to change the channel, you know the tide has turned. Independent media is rising because it treats its audience with respect, not contempt. Maher sees it. Rogan represents it. Meanwhile, the Democratic machine is still faxing outdated talking points to a world that's already moved on. The information war? It's over. The people have spoken, and for once, Maher is actually listening. The same Bill Maher who spent years mocking conservatives just yanked the emergency brake on the Democratic Party. He didn't just lob mild criticism from the sidelines, he defended Trump, torched the legacy media, and exposed the intellectual rot hollowing out the modern left. And he did it live, in front of millions. This isn't just a viral moment. It's the start of something bigger, a movement. Maher sees the writing on the wall: the left has lost its grip on reality, and unless they course correct fast, they're headed straight off a cliff. The American people are waking up. The spell is breaking. And yes, some of those who once mocked Trump are now defending him, not because they idolize him, but because what's on the other side looks a whole lot worse. The Democrats had their moment. They blew it. And now, even their own voices are walking away. If Bill Maher is waking up, maybe it's time the rest of us did too. Like, share, and subscribe for more raw, unfiltered takes the mainstream won't touch. The truth isn't partisan, and neither are we. Stay informed, stay fearless, and never stop asking questions.